Welcome to episode 4 of Retrospect. Today we're going to talk about all the big news in crypto over the last week. There's been a lot of talk about XRP and Solana ETF rushes. I must say this week was a lot more quiet than last week. Thank God, that allowed crypto to kind of recover from the middle of the week to the end of the week. The first story I want to talk about is Franklin Templeton joining the XRP ETF rush. They filed preliminary application with the SEC. They plan on tracking the spot price of XRP minus the fees with the assets held via Coinbase custody. The SEC has up to 240 days, which means late 2025 we're going to see an approval or a denial of this application. But yeah, I really think that kind of boosted XRP's price and crypto's market cap in general from about midweek to the end of the week. There was also news on Thursday about BlackRock joining that XRP ETF race. They're expected to file pretty soon. That's following Franklin Templeton's recent application for the ETF. And BlackRock are going to pursue both a Solana and a XRP ETF, but obviously that's all dependent on the outcome of Ripple's SEC case, which we'll talk about later. For those of you who don't know much about Franklin Templeton, they were founded in 1947. They're an investment management holding company that has about $1.37 trillion assets under management, and that was reported in 2023. So you can just imagine what they are holding right now. So that's a pretty big deal for XRP, Solana, and crypto in general. The next story I want to talk about is the Trump administration wanting to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. So on Tuesday, the 11th of March, at a closed-door roundtable hosted by the Bitcoin Policy Institute, Bo Hines, who is the executive director of the Presidential Working Group on Digital Assets, told participants at the White House that their intent is on acquiring as much Bitcoin as they can. Obviously, the immediate question was how much they want to buy and how they're going to acquire this Bitcoin. But it doesn't sound like specific details were released. But again, it was mentioned in a budget-neutral way that doesn't cost the taxpayers a dime. Michael Saylor was in attendance, Fred Thiel, and 3 US senators were there, including Cynthia Lummis. And Bo Hines was asked by a participant whether the White House supports the Bitcoin Act, which is a piece of legislation reintroduced in the Senate by Lummis on Tuesday that would require the US government to buy up to 1 million Bitcoin. Bo Hines answered that the White House plans to support the legislation that puts a strategic Bitcoin reserve into law and will apply pressure to make sure it passes Congress. Keep in mind the US currently holds nearly 200,000 Bitcoin acquired via civil and criminal forfeitures, but they still maintain on this concept of a budget-neutral strategy to acquire this Bitcoin. And there's speculation as to how they're going to achieve it. Some people are saying that they are going to tap into their gold reserves to acquire it. The other story that came out on Thursday was talk about the SEC reportedly weighing XRP's commodity status amid Ripple settlement negotiations. And this is closely tied to the ETF race that I was talking about earlier. Because if this happens, that will immediately be a catalyst for those ETFs that I was talking about earlier. It'll be easier to pass those Solana and XRP ETFs if XRP has given the clear. So the SEC is reportedly considering whether XRP qualifies as a commodity rather than a security in its ongoing settlement negotiations with Ripple. And what they're doing is they're weighing the similarities between XRP and Ethereum. So Charles Gasparino mentioned that both were issued as ICOs, both ETH and XRP, meaning XRP's issuance was no different to Ethereum's. Yet Ripple got sued and Ethereum didn't because ETH had since morphed into a commodity. So what's being discussed now is the difference between the two situations. So this evaluation is crucial in determining the final terms of the lawsuit against Ripple. The reason for the stalemate right now is back in August 2023 when Judge Annalisa Torres issued her ruling. She determined that the institutional sales of XRP constituted investment contracts and violated securities law, while the secondary market sales to the retail investors didn't qualify as unregistered securities offerings. This resulted in a $125 million penalty, but Ripple's legal team is pushing for reduced penalties as an implicit admission of wrongdoing conflicts with the SEC's shifting stance on crypto enforcement. So Ripple's legal team is saying that its settlement terms should align with the evolving framework. So Eleanor Terrett, who has been with Fox Business for 9 years, tweeted that she has 2 well-placed sources. She's saying that this is in the process of wrapping up and it could be over soon. She also has the same theory about why this is delayed. By accepting the $125 million penalty, they'll be agreeing to admit to the wrongdoing, and the SEC itself is unsure whether any wrongdoing occurred. So let's look at the prices on the Bitcoin chart. Since we last spoke that Sunday, we saw a massive drop from about 85,000 on Tuesday. We hit as low as 76,600. But I think all that news about the ETFs and slightly more clarity on the strategic Bitcoin reserve and SEC and Ripple really working hard to come to a settlement, we saw prices go back up from Tuesday. We saw a bit of a dip on Thursday, but it's since recovered and we're on 84,000 now. I don't think we are out of the woods yet. A lot of the community thinks that we're still in the balance, still low 70s are a possibility before we go back up to 100 or over. XRP with a similar structure, except on Thursday it didn't really drop as much as Bitcoin did, still holding firm against Bitcoin, and we're on 243 now. I believe if we hit 250 and we hold it with some volume, I think we could go further up. Obviously, if we get some news on the SEC and Ripple coming to an agreement, we're gonna go a lot higher than that. Some people talking about double digits, some people talking about $20, $100, but that's all speculation. I think double digits or just below is pretty realistic for this bull run. And that just wraps up a pretty quiet week for crypto. That's it for today's update. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the latest crypto news, and keep your eyes peeled up for the next video. It's going to be a really good one. See you soon.